In this episode, a graduation party turns into a nightmare. High school seniors board a booze cruise to celebrate finishing school. But as the alcohol flows, chatter turns to banter, and Cameron Robbins is dared to jump overboard. He accepts the challenge. A chilling video captures the 18-year-old's final moments. As a shark enters the frame, Cameron disappears into the darkness. Click like and subscribe. This is Fierce. In May 2023, 18-year-old Cameron Robbins was attending his high school graduation ceremony. He had graduated from the University Laboratory School in Baton Rogue, Louisiana. Days later, he would be dead. He had attended the school for 13 years and had been a well-liked and well-respected pupil. He was devoted to his studies and was a fierce competitor on the baseball field, described as a star athlete. But the young man's bright future was about to come to a sudden and devastating end. To celebrate finishing school, Cameron and his friends headed to the Bahamas. Situated just off the coast of Florida, they are a popular destination for American tourists. Dozens of high school seniors flock to the islands seeking adventure, relaxation, and a good time. They arrived at the incredible Atlantis Hotel on Paradise Island on the island of Nassau. Excitement was building as the youngsters explored the incredible location. They had studied hard, and now it was time to play hard. There was no time to unpack. Some of the students had organized a pirate-themed boat trip at sunset. They were going to have the party of their lives aboard a sailing ship as the sun went down. They boarded Blackbeards Revenge that evening. Advertised as the only pirate ship in the Bahamas, the boat is an impressive three-masted wooden sailing vessel that can be hired for private parties. It offers the use of a full cash bar and provides food on request. The music started up, the drinks were poured, and everyone chatted, laughed, and danced as they set sail from the mainland. But for Cameron, he would never set foot on the mainland again. He was about to walk the plank that night. As the alcohol flowed and the youngsters were enjoying themselves out on the open ocean, the weather closed in. The sun started to set and darkness descended over the water. There was a chill in the air, but the alcohol on the booze cruise warmed the passengers. The weather didn't dampen their spirits. The heavy thump of the bass beat, the noisy chatter of the students, all sent vibrations down through the boat's hull and into the water. The muffled sounds emanated across the sea and into the deep. When the boat reached Atoll Island at about 11:30 p.m., it began to turn around and head back to the mainland. Atoll Island lies less than a mile east of Paradise Island. It is uninhabited, and at 2 miles long, it's a popular spot for snorkeling in the National Marine Park. Despite the poor weather, most of those on board wore only their swimming costumes. As the chatter turned to banter, someone dared Cameron to jump off the boat. Was he man enough to do it? Was he brave enough? It was quite a jump into the dark waters below. The high sides of the sailing vessel were several feet above the surface of the ocean, but with the invincibility cloak that alcohol brings, Cameron accepted the challenge. He climbed up onto the ship's side and stood there, teetering on the edge. A few of his friends grabbed him and pulled him back down. He was being silly. He was drunk and careless. But he knew he could do it. He knew he could jump into the water and be back out again in seconds. He was up for the challenge. Whilst his friends tried to stop him, he broke free from their grip and ran back toward the side of the boat. Amidst cheers from the crowd, he leapt overboard in his swimming shorts. One of his friends filmed the jump on their phone. Everyone ran to the side of the boat and watched as Cameron splashed in the water. Someone shouted, "Bye-bye," as the 18-year-old drifted from the boat. He was surrounded by darkness, the black water below him, the black sky above him. But he wasn't alone in the water. Something circled him immediately. A friend threw him a life ring, but instead of swimming towards it, Cameron swam away. He was agitated about something. He had noticed a swirl in the water beside him. He kicked with his legs when something brushed past him. His friends on board Blackbeards Revenge shouted at him to grab the buoy, but Cameron didn't respond. Fear gripped him as he tried to swim away from whatever it was in the water with him. In the darkness, people could see his white body in the water as he continually looked around nervously. Then he was engulfed by the darkness. Within seconds of entering the water, his friends lost sight of him. Had he been dragged underwater? They shouted for him, straining their eyes in the dark, but he didn't respond. Not a splash or a shout. Not a cry or a scream. He simply vanished into the blackness. The boat stayed until 2 or 3 in the morning searching for Cameron, but there was no sign of him. His friends grew frantic with worry. The Coast Guard was called and a search ensued. The people on board were cold and wet. They were tearful and afraid. Had they just seen the last of their classmate? As daylight broke the following day, an immense search was launched for Cameron. Had he drifted back to shore or onto one of the islands? The Royal Bahamas Defense Force conducted the search alongside the U.S. Coast Guard. Boats and planes were deployed to the area, covering hundreds of miles of ocean. Cameron's parents flew out to the Bahamas to assist in the operation, but after just 2 days, the search was called off. There was no way that Cameron could have survived that long in the sea. He wasn't wearing a life jacket, and the seas were known to be shark-infested. When officials played back the grainy mobile phone footage of Cameron jumping into the water, they spotted something terrifying. Just coming into shot, as Cameron tread water appearing to be agitated, the outline of a shark emerged. It was just a few feet away from the team. It broke the surface of the water right in front of the youngster, its speed and agility visible from the split second in which it came toward Cameron. It darted away from him at the last moment, but Cameron had seen it. He knew he was in trouble and began swimming in the opposite direction. It also looks as though he is grabbed by something just out of sight, pulling him down under the water. That's the last his friends ever saw of him. Bull sharks are known to frequent the Bahamian waters. They are the most aggressive of their kind, and bulls are responsible for most of the fatal attacks that occur there. To those of us sitting at home watching this video, it's easy to say that Cameron was foolish to jump into the water that night. But he was a young man, celebrating his achievements and enjoying his time with his friends. And if he had thought about the dangers that lurked in the waters, if he had been told that that particular spot was known to be shark-infested, then he likely wouldn't have jumped. But in the moment, he was doing what many young people do, and that was fooling around, having fun and being daring at the same time. His family is obviously distraught at Cameron's death. No trace of him has ever been found. There is still speculation about whether a shark took him or whether the strong currents did. Either way, the haunting video that recorded his final moments is a chilling reminder of just how fragile life is.